Hello guys, I'm Kushagra and welcome to the Sports Doyen. Today I have the huge pleasure of being joined by a famous South African cricketer, of someone we all have grown up watching on television and do still watch on television very keenly for his expert comments and commentary. Mr. Daryll Cullinan. Daryll, thank you so much for joining us. It's truly a pleasure and a very big honor for us to have the opportunity to interview you here today.
No, thank you very much, Kushag. I'm the honor's mine, and I look forward to hearing what you're about to ask and sharing my thoughts. So it's really a thrill these days that someone still remembers me and is interested in my opinion. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion today.
No, without doubt. One could not say that at all. That people do not remember you. We've grown up. I think your cricketing journey began with a match against India as well. So I think that will be a good place for us to start. I was pretty young, of course. They do not entirely remember the '93 series, but I have seen a lot of reruns. You guys were you guys were really good. Gave the Indians a sound thrashing there, and I just wanted to know, what was the feeling like while making your debut in the series versus India in '93? The return of South Africa to the international fold, and what kind of an impact did it have on South Africa as a cricketing nation, given its rich history and given its rich heritage in cricket?
Well, I think a good place to start is that the relationship between South Africa and India goes back well over 100 years. And it was quite fitting, and we were very fortunate that India supported our reintroduction into world cricket. They were the first country to do that. But often when people ask me a similar question about getting back into international cricket, well, just to give an idea, I mean, I did debut, it was '93 in South Africa against India, and I was 26 in March of that same year. And it was sudden. So a year before being 25, I already played 9 years of first-class cricket. So I was already at that stage starting to think of a career beyond cricket. It was time to get a job, and suddenly overnight things changed, and we were back playing international cricket. And what people also don't quite understand is that during the apartheid years, we were isolated. That also meant we never really got to watch, well, we didn't get to see any international cricket. All we knew, my generation, was that there was Test cricket prior to '72. But the status of Test cricket, how big world cricket was, some of the greatest players, we knew them by name, but we'd never seen them play. And so getting back into it, talking about South Africa, I can't speak for the others, but certainly the feeling I had was to try and bring glory back to South Africa and South African cricket. So it was more than just getting the opportunity to be an international cricketer, but it meant just putting South Africa back on the world cricket map as such. So we had mixed feelings. We didn't quite know where it was going to get to next. Was this going to be something we'd be doing full time? Were we about to become professional cricketers? But as it went along and we got to play more and more countries, so we obviously became South Africa that everyone knows today. But I'm sure you'll recognize the fact, and many of your followers will, that once we got back in, we were hugely competitive. And I think that was due to our first class cricket structure being a very strong one, a very good one. So in many ways, we were well prepared for getting back into international cricket. But it was a huge honor. It was something completely new, completely exciting, and it gave us the opportunity. People like me, I didn't, honestly, at the age of 25, never thought I'd play international cricket, and all of us thought that. So it was sudden, and thankfully I got to, with my generation at least, play international cricket. I often look back and people say, well, wow, wouldn't you like to be playing today? I said, well, I was fortunate to get the chance. I think back on the many millions of South Africans who never got to play. And the world never got to see some brilliant cricketers who would have been right up there with the Borders, the Gavaskas, the Kapil Devs, and they never saw one day of international cricket.
Oh, you talk about a lot of people not getting the opportunity to actually for South Africa for that matter. I have read quite a bit about your journey from junior cricket to actually in the national team, and you talk about being so close in 1991. About you said it was also to do with so you were slightly unlucky, or the I would say the coin did not fall in your favor in that particular toss. But there is something that has been associated with you from the very, very, very beginning. You were called the new Graham Pollock, and you did break the junior record in South African cricket for an highest individual score, and for quite a substantial time, you also had the highest individual score for a South African as well. So, uh, to begin with, from the very beginning, how did you actually cope with the pressure? Because as a 15-year-old, as a 14, 15, 16-year-old, that must be tremendous to be compared to one of the greatest batsmen your country's ever produced, and a living legend like Graham Pollock, or across the world as well. Once you had realized, that there was a pathway back for South African cricket, so was it any added pressure on you, or was it something that you enjoyed, the pressure that came along with it?
Well, I sort of had been a good performer right through my school years, in my different age groups. I'd always played beyond my age group, so I got the opportunity. I was playing grew up in Queenstown playing for Border, who had first class status, which was B section cricket as such, not A section. And so the opportunity did arise. I was aware of it. I was just 16. Pollock held the record for the youngest to score a first class 100. And so it happened. But I think it was more to do with the circumstances. South Africa, our cricket media as such was really internal. And I guess any sort of bit that was news, they were jumping at simply because it was his record. So it took a while to understand how the media works and the reasons behind it. But I quickly shrugged off the idea because I simply wasn't as good as Graham. I got to play with him. I got to play against him for about 2-3 seasons. But as we got back into international cricket too, we also sensed and realized the high regard world cricket held him in and how good he actually was. So it did take a while. I thought it was a bit unfair, but once I got to understand why, and I think that's the important thing, then you could put it into perspective.
Okay. No, I mean, you did a fantastic job, may I say. When you talk about, you're being modest, I would certainly say that. I definitely not, no one likes to be compared, but you definitely left your own indelible imprint on the game. So I would take more credit if I were you, Daryll, but of course, we're not in that position. Another fascinating thing that I came across was your determination to perform against the Aussies, and of course your battles against Shane Warne and Murali. So it's really interesting, this whole dynamic. Us coming from India, we've got a particular non-liking for the Australians, especially in the last 20 years. I think it would have started more since Saurav Ganguly took over the Indian team, I would think, and it continues now with Virat Kohli, as you know. But it's really interesting to see the history between South African and Australian cricket. Also, that both the countries have also shared players because of the history of the game and history of how the sport has evolved in both the countries. So it's a little bit of a two-pronged question. First of all, any special affinity towards Australia, or any special dislike of Australia as a rival, of course, not as a nation or as people. And apart from that, your thoughts on Shane Warne and Muralitharan, and how difficult was it during that era? Because clearly we do not see spinners of their ilk now in the game.
Yeah, look, we traditionally South Africans, we never really grew up with spin just because of the nature of our wicket. So to suddenly be thrust into that sort of competitive environment, I had just broken the South African first class record just before the tour to Australia. That was for the highest score. It was 337. So I was news at that time, and within a month we were in Australia. So you know, that whole thing evolved, and I remember doing one interview and asked my opinion on Warne, and he just started his test career. So like Australia, they love the matchups. They love to make a song and a dance about that, which they clearly did. And in terms of test cricket, he won that battle. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, as we got more into it and the second tour there, what was I really to say to the media? So turning down their requests for opinions that really irked them, that really annoyed them. So I just, on 2 tours to Australia, I never watched the news, and I never read a single line that was written. There was no social media in those days. There was no, so typically of them, they just piled it on, and he piled it on, and so that's history. But you know, I always get asked in every single interview, I get asked this question. So, but I wish some journalists would actually, in the cricket world, would perhaps wake up and look at my one-day record against Australia.
Yes,
as far as
I was like,
I won that battle as far as I'm concerned. But that never gets given credit. Now, there are lots of cricketers today who take a lot of credit for their one-day players or the T20 specialists. So I'm going to tell you, I was a one-day specialist against Australia. Two man of the match awards against them. That never gets written about. My average for middle order batsman in those days, I think at the time of my retirement, I think I'd still scored the most 50s against Australia. I think it were 2 or 3 80 not outs. But I never get given credit for that. So, you know, the whole story is all about Warne and Cullinan being his bunny and this and that. And I wish some cricket journalist one day in this world would actually say, hang on, let's paint a true picture. I must correct you, I never battled against Muralitharan. I won that battle hands down, test cricket and cricket.
As actually, forgive me for not being able to finish the question. I was actually going to come that, you know, the second part of the question was, do you feel unfair? Because when I actually, do you feel that whole comparison is unfair? Because when I look at the record, you know, it just takes one ball to get out, but it takes a lot of balls to make runs. You know, so you've made a lot of runs against all opposition. It's not just against the spinners or the fast bowlers or the. I was actually going to come to the ball innings, you know, because I've seen that is one innings I remember seeing live, your double century in Gaul, and that is something fantastic. I mean, the way you played, because everyone struggled there, so they cannot. I feel you know, often our lenses are colored by 1 or 2 incidents, and we take them as the gospel truth, because that's not really how things went.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, I've over time, particularly now that I've worked in the media for the last 10 years, I've got to understand and see how the media works and who's behind it. And you know, what I say to young cricketers today is that I appreciate that guys in the media perform a particular role. They write for a certain audience. Some take on a day-to-day sort of instant quick. Some take a more revered sort of opinion that fits the audience and who they work for. Besides 1 or 2 people, even those that haven't written well about me, I can tell you that they take the pen out of their hands or take the keyboard away. They're actually very good people. So you must take it from whence it comes. But as players, you know, you're very touchy. You're acutely aware of what's getting written and said about you. So, it's a nightmare. So I wish I could, you know, spend some time with a lot of the present crowd and helping them put everything into perspective. But, you know, the whole thing about not getting runs against Warne, and then the first thing was Cullinan can't play spin. So I was really determined to prove that wrong. So I really put in a lot of hard work against the likes of Muralitharan. Anil Kumble at the time was around. Mushtaq was playing for Pakistan. You had Saklain.
Yes.
So that really got me to work hard. So I think of my generation, of any country, I think there were only 1 or 2 of us. I was one of them, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying that I averaged 50 home and away against India and Sri Lanka with the 2 other spinners.
Yes. That's another of the stats I saw, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
Surprised with the chat that it doesn't make sense. The chat that is around, that's the questions that are asked of you in that sense.
The media, as I said, quickly changed their tune. But the point being is that, yes, it's right. But I'm not today bothered by that opinion, because I'm quite comfortable in the quality of cricket that I played and what I did in the game. So, and he loves to milk it. Let's be honest. He loves to milk it and
Yeah.
he brings it up. You know, that's him. That's him. Yeah.
You mentioned about social media when you were mentioning about, when you mentioned about coming up in the game and everything like that. Do you feel that given the instant reactions we see from people around the world, that fans tend to start comparing current players with the past players and do not essentially on a personal level, I feel that it's an incredibly unfair comparison because the game's not the same. The approach to the game is not the same. The facilities, the conditioning, mental, physical conditioning is not the same. The opportunities are not the same. For that matter, even the rules are not the same in a lot of formats right now. Apart from Test cricket, the rules are also not the same. So, do you feel that with social media, with the comparison, like I'll just give you an example. Tom Banton, if you've been watching the England Pakistan and in England Australia series, Tom Banton has one great innings against Pakistan, and he's suddenly compared to Kevin Peterson. And he has the style as Kevin Peterson. You look at his bat flow; he's tall, so KP was tall. So I mean, yeah, okay, we can all see that he's 6'6", KP was 6'5", so it's fine, they're tall. So, but it do not. It just seems we're all clutching for our own favorite players from the past and trying to recreate those players and these new players. Do you feel that it just becomes, was it as much when you were coming up as well? Every player had to be some new this guy or that guy?
I don't think that's changed in that aspect. I think it's always been like that. Today it's just a lot quicker because of social media. Those opinions go around the world in a heartbeat. 100,000s of opinions, and there's people who agree with it and people who don't. But the idea of it, no, I don't think that has changed. Again, that's what could you call it? The media work. It creates interest. It's focused on certain players. It does make me think. Someone like me want to say, okay, so who's it come from? Who's written it? I might just have a look and see if this guy's as good as Kevin Peterson. That doesn't really do a player a service. Every player was answered, well, I'm trying to be me, and everyone said that for 100 years, and how they play. But that comes with being being an international cricketer. But I like international cricket today. I think the guys are a lot better than us, than we were a generation or two back. In many ways, perhaps in some ways they aren't. But the important thing here is that in the old days, you made a white ball cricketer out of a red ball cricketer. Now today, you're trying to make a red ball cricketer out of a white ball cricketer. And I've spent many years coaching kids and working with young professionals and that. And the traction that we held, that Test cricket held, is not what it used to be. And you can't blame them. The ease of playing cricket, it's a much easier game to play than preparing yourself for playing Test cricket all around the world. It's far more easier. You don't need to bowl a lot of overs. You just need to practice hitting half volleys and length balls out the ground. You don't take the physical hard work alone of being a Test cricketer, batting long hours, dealing with a short ball, taking it on the body, knowing where your stump is. Doesn't really appeal to a lot of young cricketers. And of course, financially, it's so far more rewarding, and it's going to grow and grow financially, I believe. And 3 or 4 tournaments a year, that's what more do you need? You'll have to pay 5 years of Test cricket to earn that sort of money, even if you do. So yes, the focus and the way emerging cricketers see cricket today is very different to the way that we saw it. So I've always liked T20. I got to play 2 seasons in South Africa, my last 2 first-class seasons. And then I said it's the future of the game, because just from a time perspective, the crowds, television audience, they like that short, instant stuff. So we as coaches, and we ever speak about the game, we've got to move with it and see it for what it is, and probably say that, Test cricket, unless they can do whatever they want to in terms of the laws, and they can come up with championships and all of this and all of that, until you make it financially viable and make the purse and the salaries and endorsements almost on a par with T20 cricket. Players, as much as they made, I think they just paid sort of lip service. It's great, it's wonderful. I don't think really too many of them actually believe that. If you offered Kohli 10 T20 matches or 10 test matches, strip away all the endorsements, and you just said, right, here's a fee for each one. Is he going to play test cricket? Particularly when you play 20 or 30 or 40, the novelty wears off. So that's the dangers that test cricket face. Yes, social media is an interesting one. What role it plays in our lives, I'm not a huge fan of social media. The cricketers all seem to be on it, passing an opinion. Some have burnt their fingers very badly. I just love it when the wives and the girlfriends all seem to suddenly now become personalities themselves. Milk it as well. I don't know. I would imagine their sponsors see them as eyeballs, so they've got to be active on it. But some use it very well to promote the game, and they use it in a very stylish way, and which is nice. But it's all part and parcel. I've been in international cricket, and how you manage it with all your agents and social media team behind you. I think it was cricket in our time was a lot more easy, a lot more fun, and I think we made a lot more friends, and we played cricket. And today it's a business in a big way.
Yes, I couldn't disagree with you there at all. We'll probably change gears now. We'll come more to the current South African setup. South Africa is a team that.
I've got to leave now. I have to leave now.
Yes. I got that. I mean, yes, I know. Because I was just gonna say, South Africa is a team that it's really keenly followed here in India, and you've been one of the teams that's always held the how would I say, always held the upper hand when it comes to playing cricket versus India. Whether it is winning in India or of course definitely dominating back home. So it was slightly disappointing to see the way the implosion in South African cricket started, because from where we were looking, the whole Kolpak scenario, the whole scenario of it's a very touchy topic, so I won't delve much into that. But the whole scenario of the quota system having been in place, of course, to bring in an equal representation of sorts, but that has also meant that South Africa as a nation has lost some really promising players, either to England or to the Kolpak system, when players have just simply moved out. So, eventually I would say that has caught up with South African cricket. I think in the past 15 years, at least your test team was perhaps the most consistent and the best team. So definitely the best touring team in the world. And as far as the home record is concerned, it's impeccable for South Africa as well. So coming back to today, the South African board have had their ups and downs, but today we have the likes of Graeme Smith and Mark Boucher in the setup, playing leading roles. So do you feel that with the involvement of players like that, and with an added involvement of maybe some more of players who've just retired or who've retired in the past 5-6 years, who were part of that unit that made South Africa so good, do you think there will be a course correction there? There will be, of course, there are going to be peaks and troughs, but there is a way forward. There is a light at the end of the tunnel that you see.
Look, the politics and sport in South Africa have always been entwined and always will be. Our sport mirrors the government of the day, it mirrors the policies of the day. So to try and look at it differently, anybody who tries to, it's not the case. It's not going to happen. So it's sad what's happening. Yes, if we can talk about this issue for many hours, and it's a complex issue. But when you ultimately, in the late 90s, the whole idea is, the belief was there that they could marry excellence and opportunity and still expect results. Now, I ask you, in any walk of life, marry excellence and opportunity and still expect top results, still expect to move forward, and still expect to be the best. No matter who you are, you're going to struggle. It's impossible. So South Africa tried to manage the whole opportunity aspect, but in the process of falling behind in terms of transformation and keeping up with the politics of the day. So we've seen a sudden rush of involving black cricketers as such, administrators, coaches. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily the issue, but like anybody else, there's an upskilling, it takes time and exposure. And where Cricket South Africa have faltered, they've been caught with their pants down, is that they've selectively managed the process. I've been critical of that. It should have been introduced way back, properly, as per the guidelines. We'd be further ahead of it today. The future of the game in this country is with your black and your colored kid. The future of the game with the white kid has been gone 10 years now. The administration of the game is out of white hands 10, 15 years ago. It's not and the rest of the world and those that want to place blame on our cricket situation, the people making the decisions are their own party followers. It's not us. It's not us. So you must either stand for opportunity or you must stand for excellence. And excellence is not the focus. It hasn't been for 20 years now. We've just been blessed. We've got incredible talent. But we've yet to produce a black batsman that can hold his own at international level. Don't tell me Bavuma is one. He's not. In 65 innings, he's got 100 as a top 5 batsman. He's averaging 31. Tell me, he'll only play for Zimbabwe. And that's a huge worry, because if we don't escalate, if we don't hasten this process, now we're desperately, horribly trying to play catch up. They've been caught with their pants down through poor administration, poor decision making, the development of facilities taking the game to your township areas, your rural areas. They've been poor in that regard. That held this belief that you can take the talent and put them in previously white traditional cricketing schools. It hasn't produced the numbers, because you don't. A Rabada is not 1 in 5. It's not 1 in 10. And Tini is not. They're 1 in 100,000. So you need. I've argued for a big base, and then you find the really good ones. And the other big problem cricket faces is the love of soccer. It's a much easier, more accessible game for a whole lot of reasons. And then, you know, the legacy of apartheid, where it's hurt us the most, is that the provision of facilities was never factored in, going back 40, 50 years ago. To find ground that is accessible is very difficult, where the masses of our kids should be playing cricket. You know, our public transport system is not safe, it's unreliable. So it's those logistical issues which have really hampered the development of the game amongst your black children. So now they've, in the last 3-4 years, Cricket South Africa have suddenly woken up, and I don't think they're ever going to catch up in a hurry. So you've got to unpack the thing and go back a good few years. That's just on the practicality level. So there's massive challenges there. But let's hope that they can find a way and come through it. But then all this, you know, decision-making, appointments, that's another issue. So, you know, in today's world about anything, and let's use cricket as an example, it's not difficult to be smart about anything. I can be smart about what you do in a heartbeat because I just go online. But I can have all that information, and how I turn it into knowledge is a different story. Yeah. And how I relate experience. Experience is wisdom. You can have all the knowledge about cricket, but you don't have my wisdom. I can have all the knowledge about your job, but I don't have your wisdom. And you can't teach wisdom. You can teach knowledge. Yeah. We have a lot of these guys. They're running around not only South Africa but world cricket. They're very, very smart people, very knowledgeable. Become flavor of the day. They're great with certificates, great with qualifications. It's not difficult to talk the talk. You just got to listen. You got to read. You got to watch TV. Go online. You can talk the talk as good as anybody, but you'll never have my wisdom. Yeah. And you'll never have wisdom of a good few like me. And sadly, they've been marginalized in the game. Yes. Perhaps where ex-players haven't been smart is upskilling on their knowledge, their ability to work, their ability to work with people, I should say, and become skilled in those aspects of coaching. It's become quite a science today. In my time, all the oldest, best players suddenly became the coach. I admit, I came across a few which were absolutely hopeless. And they didn't do the reputation of ex-players to come. They didn't do them any favors. So you've got to keep up with it and educating yourself. But the point I'm getting to is that South African cricket has cut off a lot of that intellectual property, that wisdom is out of our system. They've replaced it with guys who sometimes they leave me wondering if I ever played the game, the way they speak about the game. But that's very easy. We can teach that. So that succession planning, that transfer of knowledge and skills has sadly it's been broken. And all these little things are starting to impact on our performance, our attitudes, the way, even from, there's even a process there around administration. I don't get how you get all these independent, non-executive members, hugely skilled and highly regarded in their sectors. Top banking, industrialists, legal people. I don't sit on their board. I'm not a non-executive or executive director on their board. I know nothing about what they do. But they come and sit on our cricket boards and make decisions. No wonder they're in a mess. It's just day after day. It's become like a soapy drama, this cricket South Africa. Every week there's another story. It's absolutely embarrassing. It's a disgrace. The players feel it. The public, the sponsors feel it. And it's a never-ending circus. And it's tragic for the game. And it's put in their reputation, their standing in world cricket, public's eyes, sponsors' eyes, and the ICC. I said a year ago before all this nonsense started that sadly, I don't think South Africa will qualify for the next World Cup, and you can gladly quote me on it. I think with the way the qualification works now, and we came 8th in the last World Cup, and the 19s came 8th in the World Cup. When we play strength versus strength, a lot of these teams you got through the qualifying stages through your different groups, isn't it? You've had one tough game, 2 soft games. You got through to the next round. So you've got to win 3 games, haven't you? But I thought this last format was absolutely brilliant. Everyone played everybody, strength versus strength. Where we ended up is where we are. Now with the new qualification system, there's no guarantees to anybody. You've got to fight your way through, train 1 or 2 associate countries. And if the nonsense and the attitude continues and we don't somehow find some decent leadership, because that's the other issue, we lack leadership. With Graham's introduction, look, Graham Smith was mandated. He did a job. He appointed who he felt. But the man's under enormous pressure now. Every decision has been questioned. They're backtracking on statements they make. It looks like Callis will probably have to be the one to go. How can any team in the world just get rid of a guy like Callis? You've got a 3-in-1 coach there. One of the greatest that's ever played the game. He's a good communicator on the game. Highly revered. How much confidence it gives you as a player. I don't need a talking dictionary, just verbatim telling me everything about cricket. Yeah, you've got a man with his wisdom. I talk about wisdom. The enormous confidence gives young players security in that got someone like that in your corner. He's probably going to be the guy to go. So it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward. So you can't, as much as I know what's been said to the players, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the off-field issues. Let's just concentrate on the field. I can tell you that also. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I ask you to go to your job. Don't worry what gets said in the boardroom. You do your job. How can you work properly? You become insecure. You start to look after yourself. That's why players retire too early. They go to the UK and they tell us, oh, no, it's for family reasons. I have to. We know the real reasons. They're fed up with the situation. They want to leave. They want to earn money. They're retiring prematurely at the wrong time. There's no succession planning. So one word you could probably put it all down to is leadership. There's a serious lack of leadership. And I don't see it coming from anywhere in a hurry. As much as Graham may try, but he's doing a job. He's constantly having to watch his back, I guess. His questions, he's been questioned on his questions. He's been judged. Don't be surprised if he throws in the towel. That might be the next big announcement. Because who wants to work in an environment that essentially, sadly, it lives a lie. And we've lived a lie. Our cricket's lived a lie for so long. But it is what it is. Let's just wish them well. And the sad thing, because I've worked with 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, 8-year-olds for the last 15 years, from the townships, from everywhere. And the talent, I can assure you, we don't have a talent problem. But in today's cricket world, talent's not enough. You need to be strong in all areas. With the huge focus being, now off the field around preparation, science, technology, data, we led the world until the late 90s. We were the first to, under Bob Woolman, introduce specialists. The Sports Science Institute in Cape Town in South Africa came on board. That all got canned. Now India lead the world. India and Australia and England are the three countries leading the world. You know, I do work with the MSDC, MS's academies. I'm a director of coaching. So the last 3 months, you know, so I'm particularly aware of what's as much as I would know and our guys would know about Indian cricket and the coaching and it's amazing. They're way ahead of South Africa. You know, look at you suddenly had a birth of fast bowlers now in the last almost decade. You know, you've got the best fast bowling depth in world cricket. When I played, India battled, they had one fast bowler and they battled for ages in my era. So it's a complex issue. It's a very complex issue. But it saddens me, and all I can say is in finishing this topic about cricket South Africa, I'm just glad I'm not involved. So glad I'm not involved.
I mean, I couldn't really say anything else after listening to you there. I mean, there are a lot of things us on the outside still do not know, because all we do is read articles or maybe read the odd interview from an official, and you don't really get to know what is actually going on, or what competency, what level is the individual speaking at. So, and you mentioned Jack Carlis, Daryll, let me assure you, for 15 to 20 years, the entire world was jealous of South Africa, as in how did they actually manage to have a 3-in-1 cricketer, as you said, in a team, because he must have been a captain's dream, because, you know, throw the ball to him anytime, ask him to bat anytime, ask him to field anywhere, do it all. So, I mean, I just hope that it doesn't go the way you're saying it does. But, you know, South Africa, we all, you know, South Africa is, I mean, it's unimaginable as you're talking about it. So I really hope things do